The rain fell in relentless sheets, soaking the ground and turning the vast lawns of the Whitmore estate into slippery stretches of mud. The mansion loomed tall and intimidating, its cream walls and towering windows casting a faint glow against the storm-darkened sky. It was a place of wealth, privilege, and a life most could only ever dream of. But just before that mansion, beneath the shadow of a sprawling oak, an elderly couple sat huddled together in the rain. Their clothes were drenched, hair plastered to their faces, weary eyes closed from exhaustion. They had nothing left but each other, and even that bond seemed fragile beneath the unyielding storm. It was at that moment that Alexander Whitmore, the millionaire who owned the estate, stepped out of his sleek black sedan. He froze in place, polished shoes splashing in the puddled driveway, his eyes locked on the heartbreaking sight before him. His heart jolted. Never had he expected to see such a scene outside his home of grandeur. An elderly man and woman, fragile with age, worn down by hardship, collapsed in the rain. An old suitcase burst open beside them, spilling faded photographs and tattered letters into the grass. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of compassion to change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support spreads stories of hope even further. Alexander couldn't move at first. For all his fortune, he had never been confronted so directly with raw human struggle. The old man, face streaked with dirt and carved with years of pain, leaned weakly against the tree. The woman, her soaked dress clinging to her frail frame, rested her head on his shoulder, lips parted as though too weary to speak. Their hands remained tightly clasped, even as the rain lashed at them. The storm seemed to fade around Alexander as his thoughts raced. Who were they? Why here, of all places? His eyes drifted again to the suitcase, its contents like fragments of another life. A black and white photo of the couple in their youth, smiling with hope. A stack of weathered letters, perhaps love notes or family records. And a worn-out blanket, now sodden and useless, a poor shield against the bitter cold. The realization struck hard. These had once been people who dreamed, who built, who lived, and now reduced to this. Alexander had always prided himself on being self-made. He had carved his empire through ruthless deals, endless hours, and sheer determination. But with that success had come a hardness, a habit of looking past suffering when it wasn't his own. But here it was, not on a screen, not in a headline, but on his own front lawn, close enough to see raindrops trailing from trembling hands. Memories stirred. He had once known hunger too, though he had buried those days beneath layers of triumph. He recalled his mother working long nights, his father collapsing from exhaustion, his family nearly crushed by poverty. And in that painful clarity, he realized this couple could have been his parents had fate chosen differently. As the rain pounded harder, Alexander stepped forward, his expensive suit soaking through. He crouched beside them, his voice breaking as he called out. The old man stirred faintly, eyes fluttering open in confusion. The woman's grip tightened on his hand as though afraid to lose him. Exhausted, starved, and drenched, it was clear they had walked far longer than their bodies could endure. Alexander quickly signaled his staff for blankets and warm drinks, his driveway becoming the scene of a rescue. He carefully lifted them to their feet, his strong arms steadying their fragile frames. Every step toward the mansion felt like a vow that no matter how high he had climbed, wealth meant nothing if not used to lift others. Inside the mansion's warm glow, the couple slowly revived. Martha's name was Henry. Martha's name was Martha. The man's, Henry. They had lost their small home after falling behind on payments. With nowhere left, they had wandered in the rain, carrying only a suitcase of memories. Their once raised children now long gone, never looking back. They had walked aimlessly, seeking shelter, until their strength gave out at Alexander's estate. As Alexander listened, his chest tightened. He thought of his own estranged brother, silent for years after a bitter inheritance feud. He thought of times he had chosen business over family, wealth over compassion. and he realized Henry and Martha's story wasn't just misfortune, but a warning of what happens when bonds of love and care are forsaken. For the next several days, Alexander ensured they lacked nothing. Doctors checked their health, fresh clothes replaced soaked rags, warm meals filled empty stomachs. Slowly, strength returned, and with it, dignity. Martha's eyes shone as she smiled more often. Henry, though frail, found his voice again, speaking of days when he had once provided with pride. But it wasn't only them who changed, it was Alexander too. With each visit, he felt the layers of hardness peel away. He spent less time in his office, more time hearing their stories, learning from their resilience. In their presence, he rediscovered something long lost, the value of compassion over ambition, of connection over gain. Soon the day came when Henry and Martha were ready to move into a modest cottage Alexander had purchased nearby. Simple, but theirs, a place of safety and belonging. As he handed them the keys, Martha's hands shook as she whispered a tearful thank you. Henry laid a trembling hand on Alexander's shoulder, eyes brimming with silent gratitude. And as Alexander returned to his mansion, the storm replaced by golden sunlight, he felt something stir inside him that no fortune had ever granted: peace. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your engagement spreads stories of hope even further. Before you go, I'd love to know, what is one act of kindness someone once showed you that you'll never forget? Share your story in the comments below.